What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be looking at my top 5 performances from yesterday's NFL Scouting Combine. A little bit different than the way we did it before, and I think you guys will enjoy it, so let's get it started. That is right. So we're going to be doing this one a little bit differently as we did last time. I kind of went through and gave my takeaways on pretty much everybody in like a weird way, but like I couldn't really keep up with everything, so I didn't have a lot to give on specific players. This time, I'm deciding to do a top 5 list. I'm going to be talking about the top 5 performances that I saw at the NFL Scouting Combine. And guys who have potentially raised their draft stock, maybe they could go a lot higher than before. That's really what we're looking at in this list. Players that could have raised or risen their draft stock higher than it was before coming into the day, okay? So that's what we're going to be looking for. If you're on this list, you automatically had a great performance. All right, really the order doesn't matter too much. However, there are a lot of players that aren't on this list because we're only looking at the top 5. And yesterday's combine was offensive line and running back, so keep that in mind. But there were a lot of honorable mentions, such as Jedrick Wills, Austin Jackson, Cesar Ruiz. There were a lot of guys that you could put on here. However, here are what I came up with my top 5, and yeah, let's just get this thing started. So coming in at number 5 is Cam Akers, kind of a sleeper running back. Not a lot of people really thought about Cam Akers coming into this. I feel like he is a running back out of Florida State University. I think he's a little bit overshadowed by a lot of other guys because this running back class is very deep. I mean, it is so deep. This is one of the deepest drafts I've seen in a while when it comes to a lot of skill positions. All right, wide receiver position is ridiculously deep, but there's a lot of just sleeper running backs you can throw in there. It's kind of top heavy, but not really. You don't have any running backs that are necessarily like, oh, this guy's going to go in the top 10. Like we've seen it before with Saquon. We've seen big name running backs, all right? But we don't really have it this year. I think a lot of it's going to start in the second round, potentially the first round near the end, and then it's going to carry on as a deep running back class this season. So looking at Cam Akers, the running back out of Florida State, behind a questionable offensive line, he showed a lot of explosiveness when he came to the on-field drills. And there was some question marks going on with Cam Akers. We didn't know how high he would go, if he would be a really late sleeper kind of guy, or if he would have a really good combine and potentially raise his stock. And I think he did exactly that. He ran a 40-yard dash and a 4.47, which was completely great. I mean, a 4.47 40-yard dash is super fast. We saw a lot of fast players when it came to the combine. I felt like there were some running backs that kind of let us down a little bit. It was like, oh man, I thought he'd go a little bit faster than that. But Cam Akers was not one of those guys. He definitely killed it with a 4.47 at a 212, 5'11" player that ran a 4.47 is super impressive. He also had the broad jump of 122 inches. So he did well overall. He showed a lot of explosiveness. It was really the on-field drills. When you watch Cam Akers, you could tell that he looked like a next level type of player. He was explosive. He looked good to go. He looked like he had a lot of vision out there. And I know there's no defenders, but he just looked really smooth with all the moves that he made. And that was something that really stuck out to me. Not necessarily the numbers that he put up, not the performance numbers, but more when you watched him on the field. He was one of the guys on this list that were like that. So he comes in at number 5. And he could potentially be a late round prospects for some teams, but I do think he moved his stock up a little bit to more of a mid-round pick. Now, coming in at number 4, we have another running back, and this one is A.J. Dillon, the running back out of Boston College. I know a lot of Lions fans know about A.J. Dillon because they think he could be a potential fit for the Detroit Lions as a late-round sleeper. And I think that's exactly what he is, but unfortunately, I think he rose his stock a little bit after a really good day last night. At 247 pounds, this man ran a 40-yard dash and a 4.53, which is actually pretty good. I mean, it's not that that's going to blow your socks off, 4.53, but when you think of how big this dude is, like not in a bad way, like this dude is a monster. Weighing 247 pounds to run that fast is pretty impressive. To go along with that, he also had a 131-inch broad jump, which is not anything that's really normal. That's a very far broad jump for a guy of his size. And he also had a 41-inch vertical. So overall, he showed crazy athleticism, and I think that's what really sold to me. Now, his on-field drills, unlike Cam Akers, weren't his best aspect. Cam Akers, when you watched him on field, you were like, okay, yeah, that guy looks like a really good running back that could fit with a lot of teams. Watched A.J. Dillon, okay, he was all right. He didn't look so great with change of direction. But when it came to the measurables, such as how high can you jump, all right? What's your broad jump looking like, all right? How fast are you? All of those things I think he did super well in, and it kind of just solidified the fact that, okay, he has the potential. It's there. Just can we pull him to that potential? And that's why he'll be a later round pick, because he doesn't seem to be a complete running back like some of these other guys. And that's why he could potentially be a late round steal for a team like the Detroit Lions, and he comes in at number 4. Now, hopping into the top 3, we have our first offensive lineman, and this is Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Some people list him as a guard, some people list him as a tackle. It really doesn't matter because he may be the most athletic offensive lineman in this draft. Now, I don't want to say that for 100% certainty because I'm sure there are other crazy athletic offensive linemen that are going to be coming out of college. You look at Tristan Wirfs, you're thinking of a first-round pick no matter what. It just depends on where in the first round. So he's automatically looked at as one of the best offensive linemen that's versatile. They play guard and tackle. But not only that, he combined that yesterday with showing some of the most athletic play out of any lineman, maybe in the entire combine. He ran a 4.85 40-yard dash, a 4.8 40-yard dash. Can we just... I don't run that fast. This dude weighs 320 pounds and he's 6'5", and he ran a 4.8 40. That's ridiculous. To go with that, when he was on his on-field workouts, he just looked so smooth, so quick, right off of his feet. Combine that with the fact that he had a 36.5-inch vertical, which is the same of Steven Sullivan, who was a tight end that was previously a wide receiver. He had the same broad jump as Michael Pittman. The same distance as Michael Pittman, the wide receiver. So he did extremely well. The fact that you can compare an offensive lineman in what he did performance-wise to wide receivers and tight ends, that just shows you that this dude showed extreme athletic ability, and a lot of teams, in my eyes, are going to really look at him as a potential top 10 pick after this. I think he's definitely pushing on a ladder. A lot of early teams need an offensive lineman, and all the teams that need a tackle this year are really happy because there's a lot of good tackles coming out. Teams possibly like the Giants, the Cardinals, the Browns, those type of teams have the opportunity to take a tackle, and Tristan Wirfs definitely balled out and showed why he is such a crazy athlete that really could fit in a lot of places. Versatility is not an easy thing to have, so to be able to play both guard and tackle position is super impressive on its own. To combine that with how well he played in his elite athletic ability, this dude looks like a high draft pick. Now, let's hop into number 2. At number 2, we have my favorite running back coming into the draft. That is Jonathan Taylor. No, this is not me being biased, but Jonathan Taylor absolutely showed everybody I can be the best running back in this draft. Now, we didn't get to see J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately, but we did see Jonathan Taylor, the running back out of Wisconsin. And I think a lot of people were excited to see him and DeAndre Swift, but I think definitely Jonathan Taylor took the cake here. When it came to what he did in his measurables, he absolutely dominated. Ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. And coming into this, we knew this guy was fast, right? He was a track star in high school, but I think a lot of people didn't think about that. When you watch him, he doesn't necessarily look like the fastest burner. He kind of looks, I feel like when I watch him, at least personally, he looks more stocky and kind of like, all right, that dude's, a little elusive for being kind of stocky, but I don't know if he's got that top end speed. Well, he showed everybody that may have been sleeping that he definitely does. A 4.39 40 is insanely fast, about a tenth of a second slower than what Henry Ruggs ran. Think about that for a second. So he showed crazy speed when it came to that. Not only that, when we came to catching the ball at the backfield, that's where he made his money. Catching the ball at the backfield is not something that Wisconsin had, all right? Wisconsin didn't throw the ball to their running backs. It's Wisconsin. They said, here you go, here's the ball, hand it to Jonathan Taylor, and let you go do your thing. That's what Wisconsin did. Now, keep in mind, he was behind one of the best offensive lines in football. But not only that, he showed us what we didn't know. What we didn't know about Jonathan Taylor was, can you catch the football? What does your top end speed look like? He showed both of those, and he showed both of those extremely impressively, is that right? He showed both of those in an extremely great way, and Jonathan Taylor rose his draft stock to potentially being a first-round draft pick. Don't sleep on it. I could see it happening. Now, the pay is going to be different, so he wants to be a first-round draft pick, so he comes in at number 2. And finally, hopping into number 1, the guy that absolutely balled out, and I think you can make a case that Tristan Wirfs could be here, but I went with Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton is one of the biggest linemen you'll find, a 6'7" offensive tackle. I mean, that's a giant. A lot of people like them big dudes on offensive line. I know why, especially when you're trying to protect your quarterback from the blind side, or not even the blind side, just off the tackle position. You got a lot of edge rushers. You got a lot of lengthy edge rushers. But when you have a 6'7", 364-pound offensive tackle, can I repeat that? 6'7", 364-pound. You don't necessarily expect that guy to be super athletic. However, Mekhi Becton shut all of that down, running a 40-yard dash in a 5.10. That may not seem crazy fast compared to Tristan Wirfs, but at 6'7", weighing over 360 pounds to run a 5.10 40, again, that's still probably faster than I would do it. He was crazy. His 10-yard split with a 1.77, which is honestly more important when it comes to offensive linemen because it shows how quick they are. But not only that, still the 40-yard dash is kind of important because you get to see when you run that 40-yard dash, okay, how athletic is this dude even with all that weight on him? And he was crazy athletic. Not only that, we saw, unfortunately, I can't remember who it was, but someone got injured running this, so I would like to say hopefully he's all right. Can't exactly remember who that was. I really wish I could. But this guy looks like a top 10 pick in this year's draft. This was a guy that I felt like started when it came to draft talk, and this was like months ago. He was really high. Like, he looked like maybe a first-round pick. Some people actually had him in the second round, but really late. However, I think he's worked his way up slowly as this time was going on. People are realizing, okay, this guy's 6'7", all right? And then you see the athletic ability yesterday. This guy, to me, could be a top 10 pick in this year's draft to any team that needs an offensive tackle. And, yeah, don't be surprised if he actually goes top 5. I would not be surprised. So that's Mekhi Becton. Those are your top 5 performances from yesterday. If you guys enjoyed it this way better than the other way, let me know in the comments below. If you guys have any other ideas, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'm out.